work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go. Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey. Y'all know where it's at. E2G Sports Network presents First Formation Morning Sports Talk. So come on and fall in with your favorite vets on the nest as we get it cracking and talk about some of the sports topics that's popped off in the last 24 hours. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know how we get down. It could be anything. Sometimes it comes up the most inopportune stuff, but that's how we do it. So what's good? What's good? How's y'all morning going in? We're Tuesday. We're at Tuesday, second day of the week. Shout out to all my Sietes that's out there. Y'all know when you get down in the Greek letter or MGLO, Greek letter organizations, it's y'all day to all the sevens. But what's good? Y'all holler at your boy. What's good, Rodney? What's going on, brother? Glad to have you in formation with us this morning. So what's going on, man? What's everyone got going on? A lot of talk going on. Of course, we got people, the NCAA people still punching their ticket for the NCAA championship to get to the dance. NBA action. We know NFL today is that day, the franchise tag day. What's good, Anthony? What's good, man? Glad to have your information with us this morning, brother. So we know it's going down because like I said, the franchise tag today, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in which we see who's franchise tag, who's going to get that bag, who's not going to get the bag. Yes, it was. There were some good games last night, college games. Got to punch that ticket. Everyone vying. It's somewhat, if you can set up a simulator to make it, it's somewhat like the whole situation to where we, like what we talk about for the NMBT, the National Military Basketball Tournament. Everyone are putting forth the effort to set up a punch day ticket to get into the tournament. Same thing with March Madness. Isn't that crazy how you just bring it all comes together full circle? So yes, I'll say everyone some good things. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you information with us this morning. What's good? What's good? So where do we kind of start at? Like you said, Rodney talked about it was a couple of games. I know some people punched their ticket, more ticket punch last night. Matter of fact, even what's close, University of Lafayette, Louisiana punched their ticket last night with a victory. We'll get into that very shortly, of course. Let me see. Let me pull up and see where you want to go with it. We go into some NBA basically. No, I stand fast on that. Let's go and let's talk about these Raging Cajuns of University of Lafayette for a second and how they got to where they currently are. As like I said, they punched their ticket last night in the Sun Belt Conference, winning. Where go back? Where? Still in my mind that song. Sun Belt. All right, taking out South Alabama yesterday, but the score is 71-66. Of course, like you said, we all know when the team goes in, gets that automatic bid once they win their conference. You don't even got to be that good, honestly. In which, if y'all been paying attention, listen, it was the same situation that happened. In which what Coach Mr. Richardson was talking about, where it's like, yes, you can give it to conferences or give it to bids to certain people. Anyone can sit up and win. It could be any given day, which a person can win, and which you might not get the exact product in which you're looking for. So, of course, when you look at this, teams like Louisiana, Kennesaw, and stuff like that, they win their conferences and they get an opportunity. They go through their fields and knock off the people in the conference. And then they get into they're a conference champion, but then they get into the tournament and they're like a 11 seed, 14 seed, 9 seed, in which it's not that, which of course when you put them up against other seeds and stuff like that, it's not the best. So I mean, it tends to happen, and we get the whole understanding of it. But at this point, in this moment, University of Louisiana punched their ticket, and they're amongst the few that are currently ready to go dancing, that are guaranteed to sit up and have their name called on Selection Sunday. But of course, we get to see what seed they're at on that day, and you get to do damage. But every year there's a Cinderella, so that's sort of the mystique in which comes in with it, where we sit up and talk about who is going to get what and how they're going to get it. Yeah, you get said that you're 11 seed, but then you go and run the field, and now you're in a Final Four. That happens. So of course, with all that being said, it you never know what you're going to get, which is gives so much to the tournament at in-state. So of course, shout out to University of Lafayette, Louisiana, Raging Cajuns, punching their ticket last night, with more to come I think today, all the way throughout next week, as we get ready to finally see Selection Sunday is going to be, I think, next Sunday, I believe. Yes, next Sunday, Selection Sunday. Or is it this Sunday? I confirm that. But Selection Sunday is definitely coming and on this way. So, of course, last night, there was some games in the ABA, 6 games to be exact. Throughout over the course of the NBA, some good games, of course. First and foremost, the Detroit Pistons hosted the Portland Trailblazers yesterday. Detroit, at this point, like we said, they're on the sweepstakes, the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, of course. Detroit, 7 people in double figures. You would think that's not too shabby, with Isaiah Livers leading the charge, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists for the most part, 13 points apiece from Jaden Ivey and Alec Burke. RJ Hampton contributed 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists from Corey Josephs as well. 10 points, Marvin Bagley, 8 rebounds and 1 assist to go along with that. But it just wasn't enough. If you count it up, that's only 104 points at the end of the day. And then the name of the game is all you have to do is outscore the team you're up against, in which Dame Lillard's 31 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists, counted up a triple-double, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist from Jeremy Grant, his partner in crime at this point. Cam Reddish contributed 13.6 rebounds, 8 assists, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists from Trendon Wofford, 3 points from Matisse Thybulle, 6 points from Shaden Sharp, and Nasir Leo contribute with 9 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist for what ended up being 110 points. Score, finish, set, game, blouses. Portland Trailblazers walk away with the win, 110-104, 31-34 in the season, just 3 games below 500, and still able to punch their ticket or get into what the NBA's tournament, their I guess you could say their rendition of March Madness. They're able to get potentially into that tournament, and after they get into that tournament, maybe make their way to getting into a 7th or 8th seed. So there's still hope in any case. What is odd and funny is the Boston Celtics, after their hot start, they seem to be falling and falling and falling as they continue to make some type of separation or help with the separation between them and the Milwaukee Bucks for the night, in the Eastern Conference. Last night, hosted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, led by Jaylen Brown's 32 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, just one assist short of a triple-double. Malcolm Brogdon contributed 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists from Derek White, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Marcus Smart. Blake Griffin even got his swerve on, 18 minutes, 4 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Mike Muscala, 5 points. Peyton Pritchard with 7, Grant Williams with 12, and Luke Cornett with 4 and 8 rebounds, but it wasn't enough. The Cavaliers tapped in. Darius Garden, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, a nice double-double. Donovan Mitchell's even greater double-double, 40 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 25 points, 17 rebounds, 1 assist, another double-double, 3 double-doubles in one game. Not to mention the contributions: Isaac Oroko 9 points, 4 points from Jared Allen, 7 points from Karis LeVert. Also, LeVar Stevenson, Dwayne, and C.D. Osman contributed with 6 and 8, respectively. Again, if you teachers out there, y'all know what it is. I'm very sure y'all would be gracious to see that everyone that you've been taught would be able to do the simple math and add it up. That's 118 to 114. If you deduct the 4 points with the differential, that means Cleveland wins by the score by a 4-point victory in overtime. With that win, of course, Cleveland improves to 41-26. Boston 45-21, and still falling. Maybe they can get back in it if you pay attention to Boston. They tend to do that. They, except for their hot start was a little different this year. Then they kind of like fall off for a second, and then they turn it back up. But of course, if you look at the way the schedules have been set up, it'll be a little harder for Boston to turn it up now to go over the win streak, unless they're going to finish out with a 16-game win streak, which was the biggest one we missed was this year was Milwaukee's 16-game win streak, which basically ended up putting them above that of the Celtics at the end of the day. But it's still time, still plenty of season left, and we'll be able to see how that basically ends up going down for the most part. What else? Who else? What else we had on the docket last night? The 76ers, who took care of the ladder, which we were just talking about in Milwaukee, breaking their 16-game win streak, was engaged in combat with the Indiana Pacers at the Pacers' home, 147-143. But who won? If you watch Sports Center or Fox North Sports or anything like that, you already know who won. So just keep your mouth, just be quiet for a second as I get to it and let you know for the most part. Joel Embiid, 42 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 24 points, 2 assists from Therese Maxey. James Harden, 14 points, 9 rebounds, 20 assists, 20 points, 8 rebounds. Jalen McDaniels, 10 points from Daniel House. Naeem contributed with 5 points, 8 points from Paul Reed. Shaq Milton, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. And D'Anthony Melton, 9.6 rebounds, 2 assists. Other side of the spectrum, Tyrese Halliburton sold out, 39 points, 3 rebounds, 16 assists, 14 points from Jalen Smith, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists from TJ McConnell. Jordan Arwa, 16 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists from Buddy Hield. Miles Turner, 10 points in 17 minutes. No Newhan, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. And it goes on. Isaiah Jackson, 4 points, 8 points from O'Shea Brissett. Duarte continued 4 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. In state is Indiana, comes up just a bit short by the score of 143-147. 20 games above 500. I don't foresee any issue with Philly getting into the playoffs this year. Even if they were to win the last of the remaining games, they should be good to go. 42-40, 20-22 for the year. Indiana now 29-37 and still potentially struggling to get into the playoffs. It could be the play-in for the most part, in which no one, I think, at this point, like we talk about all the time, the playoffs and the play-in, like the play-in gives you the opportunity, but I'm very sure no one really wants to be in the play-in or wants to go to the play-in, obviously, truth be told. Let's just keep it real. But, of course, it's an option. We got 6 open slots, guaranteed slots. And then after that, you're only tapping in with the last Final Four, in which it just gives you 2 more games, in which, for the most part, I always wonder, do you actually want to be one of those teams that has to play 2 additional games before getting into the playoff? So you that way, you know what I'm saying, you're ready to go, because technically you come off playing the play-in, and then you walk right into playing even that 7th. I mean, that was one of those 2 seeds, as you are the 7th or the 8th seed. Of course, if you're the 7th seed, you have a little time to rest because you've already taken care of your business. But if you're the 8th seed, you don't play that basically you don't play 1 game against what is now the 7th seed, and now you're playing the second game to against another team that just got finished playing the team to get to the point to where they play you as the person that lost in the first one. So now they put you in another game to where you're playing for your quote unquote playoff life, and then you decide like, okay, I'm an 8th seed, and you do all that to come up against a potential Boston Celtics or Milwaukee Bucks, the Denver Nuggets, or even in this case, who's currently chasing after Denver in the West is the Milwaukee Bucks. So you do all that to potentially face off against one of them. By the end of the season, who knows? We might see Phoenix might be in that. So you do all that to potentially face off against Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, or someone that. So it's like you put in a lot of work. It's not the same as the punching of the ticket for March Madness, where you won and done against a tournament foe, to where you only have to beat them one. You have to beat them in a series in which you have to see them over and over and over again for at least a minimum of 4 games. It can be hard fought. Of course, 3 more games from last night that we have left. The Atlanta Hawks travel to Miami, in which the Hawks, led by Trae Young's 25 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists from DeJounte Murray, 14 points, 4 rebounds, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, 17 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 12 points, 10 rebounds from Clint Capella, a double-double. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Sadiq Bey, welcome to Atlanta, 17.6 rebounds, 3 assists. Jalen Johnson, 2.7 rebounds, 1 assist. For the Heat, led by Jimmy Butler. Y'all know his name, Jimmy Buckets, 26 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 rebound, 1 assist from a triple-double, 22 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists from Victor Oladipo, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists from Caleb Martin, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists from Duncan Robinson. I don't know why I almost called him Jimmy Neutron. Well, we all know why I almost called him Jimmy Neutron. Bam Adebayo, 16.7 rebounds, 5 assists. Max Strus, 8 points. Tyler Hero, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, in which Miami edges out Atlanta by the score of 130-128. With the win, Miami improves to 35-31 on the season. Atlanta, 32-33, not shabby, just 1 game below 500, which in some cases, depending on what conference you can play in, is a good place. But a little bit changing the tide in a sense to where it's starting to be equal, so that 500 a record isn't as safe as it used to be. But of course, as we'll see when we get into going over the standings, where they exactly sit. Another game last night, of course, the Raptors were hosted by the Denver Nuggets. Of course, Denver being carried on the shoulders by could potentially be this year's MVP for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. Of course, he needs no introduction. Nikola Jokic, 17 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, yet just short of a triple-double. 20 points, 5 rebounds from Michael Porter Jr. Jamal Murray, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 rebound, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 rebounds from Reggie Jackson. Another late season addition, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist from Bruce Bowen. Jeff Green, 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Thomas Bryant, 4 rebounds, 4 assists as another late rendition to the squad. 19.6 rebounds, 5 assists from Aaron Gordon. KCP, Continuous Caldwell Pope, 6 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. For now, what is being touted and seen for the Raptors, basically, they have also tried their hardest, their darndest, to put themselves in position in which Fred VanVleet, 21 points, 1 rebound, 14 assists, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists from Scotty Barnes, 13 points, 1 rebound, Gary Trent Jr., 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists from Siakam, OG Anunoby, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and Patel, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, just 1 point short of a double-double, in which Denver gets the win, 118-113 46-19 on the year, continue to add to, I guess you can say, quote unquote, their resume as they put themselves in position. The Toronto Raptors, 32 points, 34 rebounds. I'm correcting, 32 and 34 on the year. Now, them 2 games below 500, trying to basically put themselves in a good position. Again, they're in the East, so it's possible, but it may not be for too much longer. What else we got? Was it one more game? And yes, it was. The Pelicans faced off against yet another hot streaking team, that in the Sacramento Kings, in which the Kings victorious 123-108, becoming a 38 win team, potentially looking at staring down the barrel at 40 or more. Do they get to there? We will see. 38-26 on the year with their win. For the Kings, they were led by Kevin Horchers, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists from Keegan Murray, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists from Harrison Barnes, 11 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist from Malik Monk, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists from Trey Lyles, Davian Mitchell, 15 points, 1 rebound, 6 assists, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. Domantas Sabonis with the triple-double. Harrison Barnes, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 points from Terrence Davis. And Chimezie Metu, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. In their losing efforts, however, the Brandon Inglewood in the squad, the New Orleans Pelicans, of course, led by Brandon Ingram's 24 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 19 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists from Jonas Valanciunas, 13 points from Herb Jones, 4 points from C.J. McCollum. Trey Murphy III contributed with 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Kira Lewis, 3 points, 2 points from Dyson Daniels. And lastly, Jackson Hayes, 9 points, 2 rebounds. Najee Marshall, 7 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. But it wasn't enough, like you said, 123-108. Although there was a lot of high-flying highlights. Huerta, even though he torched the Pelicans last night, got caught by a couple of bodies by Brandon Ingram. Don't jump. But I guess there's small victories. Sometimes you just got to secure a small victory at times. With the loss, of course, the New Orleans Pelicans, who at one time was in the top tier of the league, I guess you could say the league of the Western Conference, now sits on the outside, potentially looking in, as they continue to take loss after loss after loss without Zion Williamson, Alvarado, he's currently out. So now that's what we're looking at. So, of course, after last night's game, we have currently, like I said, the Milwaukee Bucks, 71% win percentage, 2 games ahead of the Boston Celtics, who trail them. The 76ers are coming at third in the East, or with the 4th seed currently, the Cleveland Cavaliers, 6.5 games back from Milwaukee. New York Knicks at 5. At 6, the Brooklyn Nets continue to hold on, 10 points in the 6th place, currently in an easy spot, but they still have the Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors, and the Washington Wizards that sit just 6 games behind them for that 6th spot. 5 games for the Raptors, the Hawks 4.5 games. The last 5 games, if you the playoffs, do you see? Oh no, I think at this point, Anthony, you gotta tap in. It ain't no sitting. I think the only time you're gonna have, an opportunity to sit is if you're in that top spot for the most part, where it's already solidified, or once you get that that notification that okay, y'all good, the number 1 seed is yours. Then at that point, you can maybe start resting and sitting people if you deem so. I don't think you can. You're not a safe place to do that if you ain't secured your seed yet. So of course, what it is, if you haven't secured your seed yet, I mean, if your team's further back, like you secured a seed, but you can get another seed, like you continue on. So you have people that's sitting behind you that's constantly coming for you. So right now with Milwaukee only up 2 games, I'm very sure they're not going to be safe with being up 2 games unless they've already secured that number 1 seed. Uh, yes, you won Anthony last year, just on the site. I had thought if I would do it again, I don't know if we'll have a lot of takers this year, so I'll see. I have to see. Um, of course, what's good, Ashton? Glad to see you information this morning. You're kind of concerned about Zion, what is going on with him. He's very concerning. It's just one of the situations where I think I ain't gonna say health. It's just he's a big boy, and so that hamstring is a little probably pulling a little on him, having some issues and stuff. So that's probably basically where he's at. But I'm very sure they should have some of the top trainers and people in the world to get him back in position to where he can basically make a comeback. In which it's like I said, right now they're in the play-in. If we get over to move over to the West, but they're just actually they're not in the play-in. They fell out currently behind the Lakers. The Lakers are at the 11th seed, but currently from the top 7-game lead by the Denver Nuggets over the Memphis Grizzlies, of course. As we're going to talk about shortly about John Morant and his situation he got going on. The Sacramento Kings, like we talked about earlier, at the 3 spot. The Suns, and we know their what they have as an arsenal now, currently sitting at the 4 spot. Expectations that they probably are able to move up, especially if teams, if Grizzlies start to fall off. The Warriors continue to ascend. Just not too long ago, a 13 seed, currently sitting at 5 in the West, 12 games out from the number 1 spot. The Timberwolves at 6, currently holding on to that 6 seed. Then you have the Mavericks, Clippers, Jazz, and Trailblazers bringing up the rear from 7 through 10. The Mavericks just sitting a half a game back from the Timberwolves for that 6th spot. Then the Clippers at a game and a half game out as well. Utah 2 games out, as well as Portland, and then the Lakers as well, just sitting 2.5 games out from just in 2.5 games out from that 6 seed for the most part. Same for the Pelicans. It's close. It's just close. The Thunder in the 13th seed is sitting out just 3 games from the Timberwolves, and then it kind of stops there. So at this point, it's anyone's race. You got potentially 13 through 6, even potentially 5. When I look at it, everyone's within striking distance. There's only, let me see. Basically, there's only 5 games that separates 5.5 games that separates number 4 through 13 in the West. So at this point, it's anyone like you got to be on point. You have to win. If you lose, you potentially take a situation to where if you lose, you potentially have a situation to where you're going to start to fall. And so the ideal is you win the game, you continue on. If you lose, you got to potentially look at what the next man is doing, and you're hoping. So everyone needs help for the most part. You can't just help yourself with a win. The only team that can help yourself with winning is the Denver Nuggets. Everyone else, if you're not, everyone else is because they have a 7-game cushion. Anyone else is not good. So with some of the things that are going on across the NBA, is not the greatest. Of course, tonight's games, 8 games on the docket. You have the Washington Wizards will be traveling to Denver to engage with the Detroit Pistons. The Orlando Magic will host the Milwaukee Bucks. The New York Knicks hosting the Hornets today. Timberwolves and the 76ers do battle. Let's go Sixers. I'm here for it. The Thunder will host the Warriors. Thunders, it's your time. Let's get it. SGA, pull up. The Houston Rockets and the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets in Brooklyn, in Houston tonight. Dallas Mavericks will be hosting the Utah Jazz. Let's go. I don't know who I would prefer to win more. And of course, the Los Angeles Lakers do battle with the Memphis Grizzlies. Opportunity. So, of course, I am pulling for the Jazz because with the Jazz loss and a Laker potential win, that gives the Lakers an opportunity to move into the play-in and continue to have opportunity to continue to ascend and move on up. So I'm here for it, looking for it. Let's go. Mavericks, we're pulling for you tonight. Luka, Kyrie, let's do damage. Luka, watch yourself. 2 more technical fouls, and you got to do a 1-game suspension. So we can't have that, bro. We need you tonight. I need you and Kyrie to go off. So of course, what else do we have? What else is there going on in the NBA? Because it was something that which I wanted to really touch on for the most part, outside of the obvious. Of course, if you haven't been paying attention, we discussed it yesterday. Giannis Antetokounmpo was able to record a triple double last night. Not last night, night before last, in which the NBA has rescinded, only based on the fact of they realized it was what Giannis did was in the waning seconds of the game. He took the ball and threw it and hit the bottom of the rim, to which it came back to him, and he got the rebound. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. He got the rebound, which gave him the triple double. But of course, after review, the NBA deemed it was not a seen as a shot, and they rescinded it. So he did not get a triple double. He ended up the night with basically 13 assists and 9 rebounds and no triple double. So they scratched that from the records. But Ja Morant, like we talked briefly about Ja Morant yesterday in reference to the current thing. We know he was asked to step away, that he was going to be suspended from the team for 2 games, in which that turned into Ja Morant basically stepping away for the most part for a indefinite time frame as he goes and kind of like deals with some of the situations that have been coming in reference to his actions and how he's been engaging and doing things. So one of the things that has came up, of course, is that Ja Morant is basically being investigated, right? He's being investigated. So, in which I don't think anything's going to stick. Honestly, when you look at it, it's just going to be pretty hard. It's going to be pretty hard when you look at it, because what the investigation that they're doing is entailing is that the league as well as Denver are taking a comprehensive look at Ja Morant, because they basically stated that they were on it was a away game in which Memphis played. So first and foremost, while in Memphis, while in Denver, the while in Denver, the Memphis Grizzlies had a player only team meeting that was led by Steven Adams. So while in that meeting, they discussed uh, role court role discipline, court and role discipline for the team. And what's interesting, supposedly, is after said meeting, Ja Morant still went out and partied in the club in which the alleged gun incident came up. So that's the first thing. Ja, in which I was touching on yesterday, saying like the situation is going to be all good if Ja takes the situation serious. If he's going to go through and do exactly what he needs to do in order to keep the the outlook for the team and him into a positive light. But yet, from the understanding is what happened is Ja heard and listened to whatever was going on, but yet he went out and did whatever he did, brandishing the pistol on the IG live in a club in Denver, to where now he's being investigated, because it's like, how did he get a pistol or a gun to Denver to begin with? Was it his gun? Was it a friend's gun? Was it someone he know in the club? Like, how did the gun get there? And of course, I'm very sure there's somebody that's willing to take the rap and say it was my gun, and they transported it, whether it was across the lines via or flew. But it's like, ideally, it's like, how did it get there? Of course, if it was that expectation, I mean, they're investigating to see, was it carried on the NBA on the team's plane, in which, if that's the case, it's against the CBA for anyone or players to carry weapons on NBA property or in the NBA property. So if it's his gun, Did it come on the plane? That's going to be looked at. I'm very sure it's going to be hard to prove as much in any case. So I foresee that that's probably not going to go anywhere too much. Anthony Price, the big question is where the gun come from, the team bus or someone gave it to him to show off that he brought it. And then which is coming up. Like in this case, it was in the bus, it was the uh it was a plane. But in any case, whether it be a team bus, a plane, wherever that's against the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement for players to transport weapons and stuff. Of course, we have, the situation that happened with Crittenton, um, Gilbert Arenas, and all that type of stuff, where people was bringing gun and talking about gun plays and side talking and stuff like that. That was always an issue in the situation, so that could be a possibility. The CBA was supposed to eradicate that, but now, like you said, you got John Morant wondering where the gun is at. But just like you said, Anthony, of course, I think the situation is going to be someone's going to take that charge for him to where he's not going to have to worry about. He's not going to have nothing to worry about when it comes to it. What's good? Well, Mr. Richardson, how you doing, sir? Glad to see your information this morning. We're gonna have to tap in and talk about your the rankings, get the rankings from the NMBT that's currently out. We're gonna talk about that towards the end of this segment, for the most part, to where we basically will be able to see or hear from and talk about that. Where I see there's a lot going to that rankings. A lot of the prowess is put on rankings. And it's crazy how some of them can stir certain emotions and things of that nature. Like we tend to play with it about a lot when during the NFL season and stuff, reading the lurkings between the ESPN and NFL during the NFL season, in which Bishop was very perturbed at times because the Eagles, although they were an undefeated team the majority of the year, they didn't hold that number one ranking. So what's in a rank? Roddy continues, it's never in a circle of self-destruction among NBA players. So, you know what, Jordan? We say that, right? NBA players. But I think we could attest that, or it could be possible in any person with some type of notoriety, i.e. a NBA player, NFL player, a highly talented college player, any of that. So it's just one of those things for the most part, to where it goes back. But I think it tends to start to go back to, is it a person? Is it upbringing? Like from what we've seen, potentially or supposedly, Ja Morant was not that dude or this dude in Ja Morant is or will not be this dude, is or it wasn't this dude coming up, and yet this is who he is now with money. So of course, if you've been paying attention or you caught it, Jalen uh Jalen Rose chimed in and tapped in which he said had some choice words to say. That still doesn't solve the problem. Wow, somewhere you need a gun you never had to be before. It's that's correct, Mike. I know polls keep entertaining. Always, it's what's that water cooler conversation. His parents and him think they are untouchable. Showing out money change people. Does money change people? I don't know. So when we look at this, of course, Jalen Rose had a comment yesterday via NBA Countdown, in which he said, "I am Ja Morant. I've been involved in drug raids. I've survived assassinations, attempts. I've been this undisciplined young person that was trying to figure out how to be famous, how to be successful. I've been that young player carrying a gun. When you start waving it, that could get you killed. When we start to get fame, when we start to get money, then we try to feel like we keeping it real. We're trying to be down now. We're trying to be tough now. We're trying to be hard now. But you made it, and once you make it, your job is to uplift. He's going to return. He's going to be a great person," unquote, from Jalen Rose. So hearing that, right, in which sometimes you have people that speak from experience. You have individuals that tend to try to give some type of uh we try to give some type of notoriety to we try to give something for the most part to to help a person get through. So experience speaks volumes, and in this case, hopefully Jalen Rose is able to potentially reach out and talk to um, Ja and kind of get him to understand. Like, and of course, again, no different from like we know Ja Morant just basically had a whole meeting with his brothers before before they before he even went out to Denver, and it really didn't make a difference. He still went out and made the decision um, to do what he did. So maybe he listened to, as we said, we know that we have those OGs that are out there in which he can impart some of that knowledge and stuff to him and be like, hey, brother, you got it, you know what I'm saying, fam, or a partner, uh, young king, you got it. It's some different, you got to handle yourself differently. I mean, I don't know at this point what you can say for that. Like, but I think hearing someone who's been there, done that, uh, it speaks volumes in which he's willing to state that and talk about it. I mean, of course, for the most part, we already knew Jalen Rose is into certain things and got caught up in certain things. And then some we didn't. We might not have known that he was carrying pistols or you know what I'm saying, or all that type of stuff was going on. It comes back right when we always say we tend to joke around with it and say if I don't understand it, if I had that type of money, uh if I had that type of money, then I would basically, um, I wouldn't even be doing this. I would have had that. But then again, also with having that type of money, it could put you in a position to where it's like, okay, I got this type of money. I could get my mans and them to do this. I could get the, you know, saying this person to do this. I can do putting a lot of things in state between with this. So at the end state, that's what it comes out to be. So hopefully Ja hears that, especially from Jalen Rose, and is able to go forth and utilize that information and be like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I've come back a different man. We don't know when he's going to get back at this point. We don't know if it's going to be if he's going to be um if it's just going to be 2 games or if it's going to be more than 2 games. Right now, he said he would take a step away. He still might have to serve 2 games even after he take a step away because he said he was taking a step back. That's not serving a suspension. So he might say he's ready to come back, and they still might be like, you got to sit 2 games after that, just so that way it can be understood that this is not what we're doing. This is not what we do. It's all going to be on the organization. So we're going to see. Maybe we hear a conversation one time. What we do know is that he's a tremendous talent. And with him being that talent, uh, heavy is a head that wears a crown. I guess we always hear that. And so it's not like they didn't stop when they stopped making superstars. They didn't stop making potential problems. Like we got to keep in mind, we've seen Jordan with his issues. Kobe had his issues. I think Shaq. You know, what I'm saying everyone has been in the limelight in somewhat of a non-positive way for the most part. I think even Gary Payton, Karl Malone, some of them are still going through situations, you know what I'm saying, whether good, bad, or different. Different in some way. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, although his was a little bit different, but everyone goes through something in which it continues to etches and makes you. Uh, they be able to have their own discipline. They probably so, Donovan. I think for the most part, I think the NBA would have their discipline if it comes back that he was carrying that pistol, and he violated the CBA. That's where the NBA steps in to where a violation of the CBA for that pistol is 50 games or more or a season. So if it's found out that he has been found if he was in violation or non-compliant to that CBA in reference to that rule, he's probably going to lose the season, and he's not going to be there. In which now the Grizzlies, we all know the Grizzlies aren't built, or we would expect. I would say that you would expect that the Grizzlies aren't built to tap in to hold that number 2 position over the course of the rest of the season, and then go into the playoffs and still be dominant in state, especially when you got currently you got Sacramento that's not too shabby. You got Phoenix surging, Golden State surging. They got enough problems holding off now. Just imagine if they're going to completely be with the rest of their season without their superstar. And keep in mind, 50-game suspension means that the rest of this year and then some of next year, almost half of next year, if that was to come down. So you basically lose your star for 2 seasons, or the probably a heavy part of 2 seasons, to where now you basically, and that eradicates a lot. Like if he's lost for this season, the rest of this season, 30 games into next season, that means he doesn't get any call for the All-Star weekend at all by the time he gets there. Or he might sit up and be able to do the slam dunk contest. It's like, humble yourself and do that. So there's a lot that goes on with that. What's good, sis? What's going on, Kenise? How you doing? Glad to have your information with us this morning, sis. Donovan is cost Javaris Arenas 1-year suspension. Yeah, so all that type of stuff. So we just don't know what it's going to be like. So they could potentially lose him. It could be more detrimental to the team than not. So as I said and talk about this, like how many people are out there? Yeah, his career was over, really. Gilbert's Arena was a bucket. Like Gilbert's Arena was that dude for the most part. But his antics and the way he do things got in the way. I'm not gonna say putting on for, putting on for the people. He was who he was, and ultimately it stood up and caught up with him in sense to where Gilbert's Arenas he's very vocal about things. So, but like he said, he suffered that fate, of course, and it cost him. Crittenden really didn't have that much going on for his career for the most part. He was still trying to get a footing and everything like that, and it just didn't pan out. But instead, he was an NBA player. Like, that's what we can't take away from any of these. Like, we can sit up and talk about people being garbage and trash and certain things, but in state, at one point in his career, he was one of 450. That's what it comes out to be. And then consistently over the course of a certain amount of time, he was one of 450. We can sit up and talk about, we can call his name Jarvis Crittenden for the most part. And be able to be like, okay, we knew who he was. No different from Smush Parker or any of the other ones of which we said was trash. Anthony Bennett, all of them. But we was able to speak their name and talk about it for the most part. Good, bad, and different. But some took a different turn than others, and now we have different things that's going on. I watched the ID Network, right? I checked the ID Network. And, of course, there's a series on the ID Network called Death by Fame, in which I was just watching the other day in the guy James Avery Murphy, right? I think it's Avery. Last name Avery. I think it's James Avery. But let me make sure I got the right name. But in case while I checked the confirm the name. Basically, this guy was an up and coming actor, but what he was doing for the most part, which people didn't know, is they always talked about how great of an actor he was, right? They always talked about how good of an actor he was. And why they was talking about how good of an actor he was, they was enamored by it. But what it was is he actually was living his real life in the limelight in Hollywood. So he picked up, who he is basically, if y'all remember the Boys in the Hood. I know everyone's seen Boys in the Hood. I don't know who in the world has not seen Boys in the Hood. If you ain't seen Boys in the Hood, then why are you even watching television or movies? But in any case, he was a guy that basically he was Boys in the Hood. If you remember the person that leaned out the car with the shotgun and shot Ricky, That is James Avery. I think James Avery. That's Avery. So that was what catapulted him, and then after that he got a couple of other gigs. But what he was doing is he had been typecast as the hoodlum, the gangster, and all that type of stuff. That's what he was typecast as. And he started. That's what he was. All his movies was predicated by him being a gangster, him being in jail, him being a thug, a ruffian, all that type of stuff. Whatever the title you want to put on it. But in case allegedly he was going around and doing all kinds of stuff, murders. He ended up going to jail for what was a double homicide, and with that double homicide, it basically put him in prison, in which supposedly he found Jesus Christ. And when he found Jesus Christ, what unfortunately happened is he was put in a cell with another inmate whom was mandated to stay in the cell by himself because he was a sadist. He was a Satan worshiper. So what ended up happening is they found Mr. Avery in the cell 2 days from the last time they had spoken with him, in which he was laid out. He had been strangled. They found his body in the cell in a pentagram, and so his roommate had basically, or his cellie had basically killed them, put him in the pentagram. It said he was a satanic offering, and that he was a message. There was a message to God to say a warning to God, or whatever case like that. And that's how he lost his life. But everyone seen him as a promising. It was a point to where my man went to Beverly Hills High School, but things happen. And so with all that comes back and brings, like, this is the same type of stuff. Like, people are given blessings, in which we talk about a lot of times. People are given the opportunity to be blessed beyond all measures, and it's just a matter of what people do with those particular blessings. Sometimes it's more, the term, he will never put anything on you in which you can't handle. Sometimes it be like that, and sometimes that is the case. Other times it's a test, and it's not for everyone in any case. So we have plenty of examples of which that is the case. So in this particular one with John Morant, I really hope that he's able to get the help that he needs, because we don't want to see another individual to have that type of fall off to where the glitz, glamour, and fame was too big. And like we always talk about how, oh, if it was me, well, there's there's plenty of ways for it to be you. And all you got to do is basically tap into it. And I mean, everyone's a mogul in their own right. It doesn't have to always be out in front of everyone in the public, but you just gotta kind of hone it and do what you got to do to keep it going along for you, your family. Uplift, as Jalen Rose said, you at this point when you get there, you just got to uplift. And he's still young; he still has opportunity. But we'll see. Is he going to be suspended for 50 games plus? Is he going to be able to make it out and not have to worry about it of the suspension? Even if that's the case, if it in state is, if it all is true and you're able to beat the rap, is ideally what you do when you come back from said beat rap. Do you continue to do what you've been doing because you felt like you haven't been caught, or do you kind of like put it on hold and take a whole different road? But of course, we shall see going forward. So let's move into it's an NFL. Oh, correct. Yeah, let's move into the NFL. So a couple of things happened since yesterday. As I said at the top of the hour, we know that the NFL's deadline for franchise tagging players is among us. Of course, this evening at 3 or 1500, 3 p.m. or 1500 Central Standard Time will amount to be the deadline for franchise tagging players. So, of course, if they haven't franchise tagged, then they're able to go ahead and engage in free agency without having any when the free agency period starts, or just basically renegotiate their contract with their current teams. a couple of people have been picked up already during the franchise tag season. Of course, one of the first ones, the ex-Raider, now New Orleans Saint, Derek Carr, picked up 4 years, $105 million, or it was 4 years, $150 million, which amounts to be $30 million a year, just $10 million short of where he had just got to. Now put in a plus with a possibility of some incentives. So I know, Mike, I know if you're still out there, or anyone else, any New Orleans Saints fans, how do y'all feel about Derek Carr being now y'all future? Potentially y'all's next Drew Brees. What do you think about that? He's a career 35,000 yard passer, career 62 completions. Is that what y'all needed in he said the salary cap. Why you say the salary cap is rib, Anthony? But back to that, he's and even they said that it was noted that on Michael Thomas's social media outlets, he had shared articles in reference to Derek Carr becoming a Saint, and then after that, he was like, "Thank God." When it was all said and done, does that mean that Michael Thomas now is looking to come back into the fold and be able to be part of the organization, or is it potential that he's going to get moved? Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, uh, Taysom Hill, like there's Alvin Kamara. There's potential weapons in New Orleans, and now you put, even though I haven't been big on Derek Carr myself, but now you put Derek Carr in the fray. Like, does that fit the bill? Is that he said out here? I feel with the weapons. See, exactly like I was talking around him, he can be successful. Better than what we had in QB room, that's for sure. Who that they should. So already you see Mike, he's ecstatic. He can see it. He's already there. Like he's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? We tapped in. We ready to go. So even that, when you bring that up to the debate, weapons, key weapons. That's what it's all about. He has weapons now. That's a great amount of players that he can sit up and be able to go to and be able to tap in with. Like it might be going down for New Orleans now. And like already talked about yesterday, they're already looking at, depending on what Carolina's able to do and put together in Carolina. Right now, I would feel like if I had to go with in the South, NFC South, I see New Orleans potentially, they're the front runner already to come out and be engaging and to be the top team in the, coming out the NFC South right now. Last year, just on a whim, it was Tampa. Are we omitted Tampa a little too quickly? Is Kyle Trask that man in Tampa? Do they sit up and draft and bring somebody else in? We already see what they talk about is a highly touted talent in Richardson, Stroud, or even Levis or Young. Does any of them go to Tampa and turn that around? Tampa has weapons. I know it was talked about yesterday. We didn't talk about it, but it came up, in which they talked about Bijan Robinson potentially going to Tampa. For what quarterback, though? What quarterback is going to be there for BJ Robinson? And then they asked this on White, like the Robinson and White connection. So it's a lot. But right now, in my opinion, New Orleans is a front runner and is putting the right people out there and around Derek Carr. You still got the situation with Alvin Kamara. I get it. We don't know where Alvin Kamara is going to be. Currently, he puts his indicted in looking at he has to go to trial in reference to the rough enough of the guy in Las Vegas last year during the Pro Bowl. Got it. But of course, you can do your work. You put in the person in, but he has weapons. So just like Mike was saying, they have weapons. Everyone feels better about the QB room. They could probably bring in some better QBs. Maybe Taysom Hill doesn't have to touch another under center unless it's running a wildcat play. weapons, and that's all what it's about. You want to have as many possible weapons as you can. What do you say? They have Michael Thomas. Yeah, they're not going. They're probably going to restructure. Well, Michael Thomas just restructured his contract last year, so yes, even they one, they're going to make it work, or two, yes, they're going to have to move him. But they're restructuring a lot of contracts. Maybe some people will buy into it and they'll be like, okay, this is a year we're going to be able to play. He went to easy base to get to playoff. That could be true. It remains to be true. I agree, Anthony. What? So the reason in my opinion why the Jets wasn't a better choice is based off the fact that the New York Jets do not. It wasn't a good fit for Derek Carr because Derek Carr is not effective in the cold. The New York Jets don't play in the dome, and they play in adverse conditions late in the year. Now, it's not to say that you're not going to play in adverse conditions late in the year because when you go to other places, but to sit up and that be your home, he might not get used to that. Now in New Orleans, he's in the dome. Before he was on the West Coast, he played West Coast ball. He played in Fresno, and then he played predominantly was placed at home with Oakland or Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Oakland, Las Vegas. Always been on the West Coast, in which yes, he would travel here and there to and fro to other climated cities, but in-state he was horrible when he played in those cities. He's not effective in the cold, so it really didn't do him no good to go and be a New York Jet when predominantly without a guarantee. With the guarantee, you was going to play 8 games. I mean, at least 4 games in the cold, just at home alone. Not to mention where you would have to travel later on in season 2. So that was always a thing which I think needs to be looked at. Now he's in the South now. You're not going to have to worry about that in Tampa. You're not going to have to worry about that in New Orleans. You're not going to have to worry about that in Atlanta for the most part because it's a dome. So off the rip, you're looking at 8 games. Correction, 11 games out of 17. You don't have to worry about playing in a cold condition because you're playing even in a domed area or a climate to where it's not going to be cold. You might have to deal with some rain and stuff like that, but you're good. So I think it's already looking up. So not a bad move in my opinion. Excuse me. Let's talk about the flex or the middle finger he gave to the Las Vegas in not taking the trade and end up going to the team in which who went after to begin with, because he didn't take the trade, didn't defer his clause to trade clause to where the Raiders were not able to recoup anything from the situation, and he basically goes and signs with the said team for $10 million less than what he was due to make. So when you look at it, it basically, in my opinion, he just basically played the Raiders. It's like, y'all, this is what you get. This is what I'm going to give you. He was like, either y'all pay me $40 million or release me. He released me, and then he basically went back to the team that was willing to trade for him. Basically went to them after the fact for $10 million, which he initially said that he wasn't going to waive his no trade clause because he didn't want to take a pay cut, in which the Raiders was trying to get him to do. Ultimately, he ended up taking the pay cut at the in-state. So he went from being the 40 million range, just down 10 million to a 30 million range. If Bishop was on, I guess we'll be talking about shrimp scampi versus shrimp Alfredo. So but it's different. So basically, shout out to Derek Carr. The Saints might have got a little better. So it remains to be seen. Additionally, of course, Geno Smith signed a 3-year deal as well, in which Geno Smith went from making what he just made $7 million last year to where he potentially would have ended up making, if they would have franchise tagged him, $32 million for the year. A exclusive franchise tag would have netted $45 million, but he went from he avoided that, and basically now is due to make $105 million for over the course of 3 years, with $52 million guaranteed in the first year. So that is a whole turnaround for a player that went from being bounced around for 10 years. Although, well, I wouldn't say bounced around. He played on 3 or 4 teams over the course of the 10-year career. Set in with Seattle, was the backup to Russell Wilson. As soon as Russell Wilson got shipped out to Denver, then we have a position where I would be one of those that thought that Drew Lock was going to unseat Geno Smith, in which it didn't happen. And Geno Smith had a great, miraculous year. He led the NFL in yards passing. He led the NFL in completion percentage. He got his first Pro Bowl after 10 years, his first Pro Bowl invite, as well as won the Most Improved Player of the Year award, and then parlayed it all into a multi-year deal, 3 years and $105 million. That's not bad at all when you look at where he was. And it all like 10 years. It took 10 years. So, you know what I'm saying? We all know Geno was highly touted coming out of West Virginia when he got into the league. Didn't do too well in New York. Then he went to New Jersey, the Jets. He didn't do well with the Jets. He going from the Jets to going to New York. Back up to Daniel Jones wasn't the best situation. Then he left there, went to ended up going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Didn't do the best there. Ended up in Seattle after that year. Backed up Russell Wilson. Wasn't the best at backing up Russell Wilson, which led to some things of like he's saying he wasn't going to be too effective, and the crowning of Drew Lock potentially, in which Drew Lock didn't do well at all in his case. However, Geno took the helm and just ran with it. Got the Seahawks to yet another not Super Bowl, another playoff where they fell to the 49ers, and he negotiated now $150 million, 3 years. Not bad when you was just looking at making $7 million, or you was $3 million. You played for a year when you made $3 million. So, key example of contract year. He made it happen. Put him in a good position now. He's going to be making the bag now. I hope he can follow up to a degree. I hope he don't just get the bag and not play and not make anything of it. Now you don't think Saints still the front runner still if the Falcons get Lamar Jackson. So I honestly, Anthony, don't believe that the Saints are going to make that happen. I mean that Atlanta's going to make that happen, or even the Ravens are going to let that happen. So if you look at it right, like I said, the ideal is from what the Saints, Ozzie Newsome said, is the expectation is that they're going to negotiate all the way up until the deadline, right? At the deadline, the expectation is if they haven't come to a deal, they're going to place the franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. So, of course, with them placing the franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, it depends on which franchise tag they're going to place on Lamar Jackson. They're going to even place the franchise, just a regular franchise tag, or the exclusive franchise tag. So, of course, if they place the exclusive franchise tag, they're going to pay him $45 million for 1 year of service, right? But they also control the option to trade him or move him, basically his rights for that year. If they place the exclusive franchise tag, if they place the regular franchise tag to him, they're just going to pay him just over $32 million. But Lamar Jackson still has the right to go and talk to teams in reference to playing with them. Said, like you said, Anthony, Atlanta, if that was the case. If Atlanta was willing to pay him whatever it is in which they're going to pay him, then it goes back to Baltimore, and Baltimore basically has the first right to match or deny. In that case, when they match or deny, if they decide to deny and allow Lamar to walk, compensation comes back to the Ravens in 2 first-round draft picks. So they can even let Lamar walk, or they can get 2 first-round draft picks. So what we'll know clearly and concisely is if Baltimore doesn't place the exclusive franchise tag on him, they're not really looking for him to stay anyway. They're just playing chess at that point, and they're not really looking to keep him. So that's where I think it is at this point, which we'll be seeing if it's going to be that or not. Like, are they going to keep him, or are they going to? Are they not going to looking at really keeping him? Or are they trying to see who is really willing to pay that ransom for Lamar Jackson? So, in which I don't know. Is someone going to do that? Is someone going to put up that money to for Lamar Jackson? Does Atlanta or Tampa or any of those other teams that's out there willing to put up those draft picks and that stock, as well as pay him whatever it is that he's asking to put him in their uniform? Maybe not. Like, when you look at it, then we're talking about, we haven't looked at certain other aspects of it, because we're talking about teams that we know that are potentially quarterback needy. You still got people like Tennessee that are looking to deal or move or upgrade their position. The Jets, potentially New York Giants, Tampa Bay opening, Washington opening. Who else has openings for the most part? They're solidified in kind of the Raiders opening. So it's certain openings that where you don't know where he could potentially go. I know, like you said, the front is that he could end up in Atlanta. The front, he could end up in Atlanta. So it's getting interesting at this point. So again, like I said, don't know what's expected. We have a better picture at the deadline, of course. I don't think there's been any news or breaking news in which they say anyone has been franchise tagged. At this point, it's only been 3 players alone that has been franchise tagged. So it's that's crazy too. Like, there hasn't been many people franchise tagged as of this morning. So presumably, even it's going to be a frenzy of people who are going to be franchise tagged, or it's going to be a lot of people that have an opportunity to go even resign, or they're going to be allowed to walk. At this point, the only people who've been franchise tagged is Tony Pollard from Dallas, even Evan Ingram from Jacksonville, and Darren Payne from Kansas City. From Washington, are only players that are currently franchise tagged at this point. You say the Giants are going to mess it up for Jones and Barkley. No, so the expectation is that they're going to bid or get Barkley in the fold, I think. So they probably, if they're letting Barkley potentially walk, then that's the expectation. They're going to get Barkley in the fold, get him re-signed, and he's not going to end up going anywhere. And then they're going to come back and hit up Jones, but they only can put the franchise tag on one. So of course, the higher premium is the quarterback. So put the franchise tag on Jones, get him, see if they can get him in, and then after they do that, go and potentially come back. Because in any case, they're holding this a placeholder. All they're going to do is put. So the expectation is that you don't have to play on the franchise tag. That you're just going to be franchise tagged. So, if y'all were players or anything like that, who would you rather go to? If you were Lamar or Daniel, who are you looking to go to? Would you rather stay in your home, respectively, being that Jackson, New York, or Baltimore, or are you more so looking to go somewhere else? I think for me, because I haven't really thought about it, but where would be a good fit for Daniel Jones outside of New York? Where else could he potentially go to where he can go and start, and it'd be a good fit. Oh, Carolina, that's another spot too. Maybe a Carolina for Daniel Jones. I'll trade up and draft a cheaper QB. And then go let go, which potentially that could be it. Or even with that, like it's so many. When you look at it, so many things. Like so, let's take a consideration for that of the Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. They could potentially draft, or they could potentially franchise tag Lamar Jackson. Lamar bids and gets another team to take his services, goes there. Baltimore gets a first round draft pick. Of course, it won't be this round, but they get a first round draft pick. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Gets a first round draft pick, or probably won't be one worth anything really. Gets a first round draft pick, and then can always use that as a bargaining chip to, like you just said, move up to get who would be a cheaper quarterback over the course of the time. They got Huntley that's already there, who might be the next Geno Davis for the most part. I mean Geno Smith. He might be the next Geno Smith and waiting to where with some time and opportunity to play, he becomes better. Puts him in position now. And then, of course, with that being the case, now they can put a player behind him to basically learn and understand the nuances of being an NFL quarterback. And every year, for the most part, push him for the starting position and then get thrown in. The same thing you got in Atlanta, because you got Ritter in Atlanta, potentially. You got Malik Willis in Tennessee. You got Sam Howell in Washington. Who was the quarterback in Carolina? I think is one in Carolina as well. So it's people out there. Green Bay, you already know you got Jordan Love. Depending on what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, so they're out there. One position, one situation can potentially turn one quarterback situation into add them to the mix. So there's plenty of people out there. So the GMs at this point, it's chess and not checkers. You call up your counterpart and ask them certain questions, and it's like, is it a real move or is it just something to kind of like see where you're at? Like it's crazy right now. So it's interesting to see how this ends up turning out, playing out for the most part. Now that I think about it, let me see something. Because where is it? Where are they at currently? I feel sorry for the Rams. They sold for a ring, and now they're in cap kill. It happened like that. It definitely happened like that. Like that cap situation is different from that of the NFL. I mean, from the NBA. So it's not. It's like, so I wouldn't say they sold. They sold for for that. I mean, because in state is, if everything turned out to be legitimate at the end of the day, then it wouldn't be a problem. Like they got that ring, and after they got that ring, basically it all fell apart. Cooper Kupp got injured. They toggled back and forth between the running back, and they didn't have a strong running back room. The Allen Robinson situation didn't work out. Van Jefferson situation, he was injured the majority of the year. Then he finally came back. It was late. The Schroenick situation, like nothing really worked. They lost Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford, he didn't play. He was out for the majority of the year. So all of it, nothing panned out for the Rams in state because they had a bunch of injuries and players missing players, and it just didn't look good. Now you have it. They brought in Simmons, and they released him. What else? Now they're shopping around Jalen Ramsey. So they're trying to make amends for it in state. I wonder, do they end up re-signing Baker Mayfield, or do they let him go? I think we was about to sign Baker Mayfield. He probably would have been better in the position behind behind Brock instead of Johnson, but hey, the Rams beat us too. So, but I wouldn't say feel sorry for them. They're still, I think they're still in the position, or not too bad of a position. Um, Let me see where he had. So let's sit up and talk about. I haven't forgot about. I won't get back to. I know I said I was going to talk about. We was going to talk about the NMBT's rankings. So let me see. I'll go back there in a second because like Mike Richardson was saying that rankings are entertaining for people. I guess it could be entertaining for anyone when you look at it for the most part because in those comments, man, when he be posting, it be people be wanting to know what is the reason, why is it like this, why. But in any case, um, for him. I mean, I'm very sure he comes up with it, and he tends to explain as well sometimes like why it is why it is what it is for the most part. And which sometimes as I'm listening, I'm like, okay, just saying that does make pretty good sense for the most part. So, but let me see as I pull up. Oh, that's a lot of stuff getting ready to start off. You're getting ready to get back into the women's thing situation with the USFL. I mean the PFA, PWFA. Is getting ready to start back up. Let me see the latest and greatest. Oh, so of course, as of through the week of March 5th, the NMBT came up with their top 25, uh, in which well, I'll explain that first after we go through. So top 25 for the most part. At number 25, Fort Sam Houston. At 24, Scott Air Force Base. At number 23, West Texas Military Basketball, Fort Bliss. At number 22, Fort Campbell Eagles. At number 21, the Nellis Air Force Base, Lightning. At number 20, the NBSD Tritons. That's the Naval Base San Diego. Tinker Hawks, Tinker Air Force Base. The Colorado Military Basketball Squad. Camp Pendleton comes in at number 17. At number 16, the Mayport Hurricanes. At number 15, Joint Base Hendon, Meyer Hendon Generals. F4TENCMB Marines. At 13, Cannon Air Force Base Commandos. At number 12, the Fort Benning Yellow Jackets, getting closer and closer to the top 10. Elgin Eagles coming at number 11. At number 10, Fort Gordon Eagles. At 9, Lacken Warhawks. At 8, the Hobart Commandos. At 7, the Fort Carson Mountaineers. At 6, the Luke Air Force Base Thunderbolts. At number 5, Hawaii Elite. If you listened last week, that was they came up a couple of times. At number 4, the AFA Club Team Falcons. That's the Air Force Academy Club. At number 3, Langley Eustis Raptors. At number 2, Fort Bragg Basketball, of course. And at number 1, holding down for basically the whole year, the Fort Hood Phantom Warriors have been in that top spot since last year after the tournament ended. Currently sitting at the number 1 spot. Of course, honorable mention for Barksdale Air Force Base, Shepherd Air Force Base, MCAS, Miramar, the new elite minted, Fort Irwin, and Davis Monthan Air Force Base. Get honorable mentions. So, of course, a couple of weeks in the left out there in reference to getting your resume redone, adding some things to your resume to get into the 2023 National Military Basketball Tournament, which the invites start going out already. There's one. If you've won the Joe Hall Classic, 2 won any of those conferences, i.e. the WAMAC, the PAC West, the PACW West, the CUS MLB, or the CMAC, become the conference champion, and you get an automatic bid. Everyone else becomes at larges, in which you got to basically put in that work to get the invite. Only 16 spots. So with all that being said, you got to make it happen. So earlier, like he said, we talked about there's some things that come with the rankings. Of course, I've seen some questions were asked per people who checked out the rankings, and the questions were, of course, that why is it that a team that is no, someone asked for the rankings. Someone asked, like, why don't we put the rankings up in regards to these teams? And so one of the answer was that the rankings used to be up, but that just, so it doesn't make a difference for the most part. Because, of course, someone brought up the fact of why is it that the Camp Pendleton team that could be ranked here is ranked number 17 behind a team that it has less wins than them, or has lost to it. So, of course, the conversation that goes into conversation, and simply the response was that true enough, you have a player that is playing in the league, and potentially more so towards the NBA teams, which is ran by 3 conferences ran by Jason Lascaviano. When you look at it, the teams play in conferences, which means they play. What's good, Frank? What's going on, Zach? Glad to have you right this morning, brother. Glad to have you there. So what happens is the teams play. Let's say, take for instance, 6th ranked Luke Air Force Base Thunderbolts. They play in a conference within the NBA. They play within a conference, and those conferences are predominantly played from the standpoint of they play versus other teams in their region, which might be for Luke Air Force Base, might be the Marines, Nellis, Fort Irwin, MCAMS, Miramar, and those teams in or around that area. To where they play those teams 2 to 3 times, 4 times, saying rotation. And maybe here and there go to a tournament or something like that. To where you have teams like those independents who play in travel to go play against other talents outside of their regions. They get a different look, or because they're playing outside of the teams in which they usually play. It's almost like the same thing when we talk about playing in the SEC. Playing like, okay, yeah, you got 2 good teams in the SEC. Well, maybe that's a bad representation. That's like playing in the Pac-12. Like, you play against teams in the Pac-12. All the teams may not be of a huge caliber, although you have some teams that are good there. But then you look at, you play your regular teams, and then when you have to play your non-conference games, you're not scheduling any top tier or any huge name. Like, you go and play Cal State Fullerton as opposed to going to play against University of Houston, or playing against, scheduling to see if you can get someone like Ole Miss or somebody on your schedule. And so that seems to what be the different from what the explanation was, in which I gotten. So that I seen in the comments. So it just comes out to be one of those things. Need to get some. So it's just coming. So for the most part, it seems like there's not an exact science to it currently, and you're going to continuously go back and forth with saying who's deserving of rankings and stuff like that. I guess for the most part, it's hard to be able to, which is a whole thing. I got to go back and read the comments because more has popped up since the last I read. But in the whole scheme of things, I'm very sure there's not too much of a opportunity to really meet that in which the rankings is. I think it's a lot to be unwrapped when we talk about the rankings, whether it's the NMBT or just rankings in general. Because let's be honest, even when we look at the rankings when it comes to the CFP or will you take this? I don't, because I'm not sure. I can't remember when we last talked to Coach Richardson, if the rankings really hold fast to who gets invites, or if it's just purely for entertainment, in which people continue to take a bite on the line in which you're talking about it. But in-state is, when it comes down to it, even when we look at the ranking system for the CFP, where that ranking is really indicative to who's going to get into the CFP, then it holds a weight, and it's really people want to know and have an understanding of what goes on. And seemingly there's not a clear, concise understanding from the people in it, or there's just a lot of rift going on, or whatever the case may be. But it's just a situation to where it's going on a couple of years isn't into this event, to where it's going to, I'm very sure everyone's open to improvement and whatever that looks like, for the most part, in which, if through that is just going to take time. So until it's getting to a point to where that time is where it comes up, then you're going to continue to have people that's bringing it up. What I would hope is it doesn't deter, due to the fact of it's an issue. It doesn't completely deter from it. But of course, we shall see. Because like I set up and came up with a something for within intramurals, and the product right now is, it needs some more work on what we're doing. So I'm trying to fix it. As a matter of fact, I thought I'd get off here. I don't know if I want to end a little early to give you some time. I have to go and put together something for it to be used for tonight. And it took me a long time, especially when you do things manually, to try to make it fit, trying to fit everybody, trying to make sure you take care of everybody and stuff like that. Sometimes it's just not possible, so you got to do the best you can do. But in any case, we shall see. Of course, very sure is much more to come when we talk about military basketball. From the aspect of some people looking to get some more people on. I think we're gonna go a little old school. I'm in the process of trying to get that set up now. Of course, that should be dropping in a day, and by today, maybe tomorrow, maybe get some old school to come on and talk about what we have seen as what the state of military basketball as we know it at this time in 2023. We've heard from a couple of the Titans in military basketball when we talk about organizations last week on Monday. Then we heard the players' perspective. Ideally, we're going to get a women's perspective in the matter as we get some of a couple of individuals which we come across to talk about the women's perspective and some things. And then, of course, in the country, working on some of the older coaches from some back when, of course, some coaches in which we heard names and we asked the players about that. And then also, I would like to get a fan's perspective as well. So I want to reach out to some of the fans in which I see that I know to be tapped in. Excuse me, that be tapped in to looking at and so I want to reach out to some of them too to see if they'd be willing to come on and give their perspective and chop it up with us a bit on here on First Formation. So of course, like I said, more in that fact in the matter. And then of course look at doing some expansion. Of course, we get into the other things in which it's more than we push the armed forces athlete. So of course we want to look get into a couple of other things in reference to military sports. Softball is a huge one. Of course, you got soccer. I'm looking to make a push for flag football, so I'll have a couple of cohorts that I know getting in on the gridiron. So it's work. It's doing some work along with some other things, in which I always keep some rabbits in my hat. So see if I can pull it out. But definitely look to do some expansion and getting other things going and cracking when it comes to pushing that military, the armed forces athlete, and the regular with the professional athlete, the college athlete, and so on and so forth. So definitely. So you know what? I think I will go ahead and call it a show for today. I greatly appreciate y'all tapping in today. I got it. Like I said, I gotta take a. They got my juices going now to where I gotta get this these this next iteration of this program capped off. But always feel free to reach out to me. Y'all know where to find me. Y'all can hit me on Instagram. It's your boy Trey. Messenger through my Facebook Messenger. If you got my call on my phone line, you can bang my line. There's no problem or any of that. Of course, also First Formation not email, First Formation, Facebook as well. Plenty different ways to get in contact. If it's ever one you will have come on the show, you have a show idea, or just want to rap and talk about it a little bit. Always looking to interact and engage, or platform or a case like that. So feel free to always hit me up, or myself or Bishop, anyone. Um, so I hope y'all enjoy your day today. It's a Tuesday. Go out and enjoy your day. Wednesday, hump day tomorrow, getting a little bit closer to the ending another week in this year. Saying always a blessing and grace to wake up and tap in with y'all, fall in with y'all. Look forward to hearing from y'all, seeing y'all know where it is every Monday through Friday, 09, sometimes 1100. Y'all gonna get something for the most part. And we out. I hope you enjoy your day today. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Peace. Enjoy. Love y'all. One.